That's okay.
Let's start. Jai Hind all. I, Dr. Nisha Singh, Assistant Professor AVG SCMC, welcome you all in the today's session for 1 year of transformative reforms under National Education Policy 2020. We are glad to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. VP Singh sir, who has a brilliant career in the education, who has graduated from LLRM Medical College in 1975. His post-graduation and PhD is from AFMC Pune University, and sir has done his postdoctoral in cardiac anesthesiology from AIMS. He has served Indian Army for 33 years and retired as a brigadier, and now we are blessed with his intellect and his knowledge as a Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sir, I request you to share your views on the today's topic. Over to you, sir. Sir, please kindly unmute yourself. Unmute your camera, sir.
Jai Hind, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. You are totally audible.
Yeah, I'm happy that we have started a series of webinars on the National Education Policy 2020. Now we have already covered two topics, and today's topic is equally important. Rather, I would say it is very important because it relates to skill development, entrepreneurship, and employability. And that is the main concern when the students they want to have education and they want to see the whether it is outcome based or not. So these things are so important. That's why a lot of emphasis is given in the new education policy. So much so that now we have the separate ministry of skill development and entrepreneurship. Now, the crux of the policy in this particular field is that whether we want job seekers or job creators. So entrepreneurship is all about to create students or qualify or give education to our students who can be job creators, thus helping not only to themselves but other part of the population or the fellow students to give them job and make them self-sustained. Therefore, today's topic is so important, and I would like that the participant, whether it's faculty or students, whosoever connected, they should have a thorough discussion in a formal way, because that is much more important. And if it is possible that if you can allow the students to interact with you, uh, to exchange few question answer session also, it will be wonderful, because there are lot many queries remains in the mind, that too in the light of a new educational policy where there may be new things, new terminology or new terms of conditions. Those kind of things must be there, so that it should be made very clear to the all that what has been thought of in this educational policy and how we can achieve this, how it can be implemented on the ground. So these are the questions which has to be addressed, and I'm sure that the speakers, panelists, will do justice to the topic to the benefit of all who are joining this today's session. So with all these words, I'd like to wish all the best to the College of Management and the organizers of this college. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Subharti.
Thank you so much, sir, for your views. It's very precious for us. Now, I would like to invite Mrs. Sarika Abhay, Assistant Professor AVG SCMC, in the session. She will be discussing on the new education policy regarding entrepreneur, reimagining vocational education, that is, policies on entrepreneurship development, employability. Over to you, ma'am.
Uh, Jai Hind to all participants. I welcome all participants for today's webinar on 1 year transformative reforms under National Education Policy 2020. And today's sub-theme of this webinar is skill, entrepreneurship development and employability, challenges and opportunities. So as we all know, the aim of education in ancient India was not just the acquisition of knowledge as preparation for life in this world or life beyond schooling, but for the complete realization and liberation of the self. The purpose of education system is to develop good human beings capable of rational and education possessing compassion and empathy, the courage and the reliance, the scientific temper and the creative imagination, with sound ethical morals and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our Constitution. A saying is that, well defined by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, that confidence and hard work is the best medicine to kill the disease called failure, and it will make you a successful person. So from 30th July, the different ministries and departments are organizing their webinars on various themes. And today we have also watched the skill entrepreneurship development employability, the challenges and opportunities organized by these departments, these ministries and departments, uh, organized by the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Department. So there are total 8 points in national education policy regarding reimaging vocational education, which I will be briefing in this webinar, in today's webinar. And I have Mr. Akhand Pratap Singh with me, who will present the different schemes of Government of India for startups and also the role of MSMEs in the current scenario. So, yes, so there is no denying fact that the Indian education system, though one of the credible ones among developing nations, left a lot to be desired, especially on the entrepreneurial front. To keep pace and plug up, plug the gaps, the Government of India has replaced 34-year-old national policy on education with the National Education Policy of 2020. The National Education Policy, as approved by our Union Cabinet, on one hand, promises to make sweeping reforms in education and research, whereas on the other hand, it aims to create new possibilities for life, that is, lifelong learning, besides making it industry oriented with the emphasis on entrepreneurship. The overarching goal of the entrepreneurial revolution has been woven in the national education policy, in the sense that it aspires to make young generation more imaginative, innovative, ingenious, the proactive, pioneering, prospect oriented, and this is the core of entrepreneurship and is also a competency that all demography increasingly needs to have in today's atmosphere. So regardless of the career choices. So let's see how Government of India has prepared a roadmap for entrepreneurship. So given the explosive pace of technological development allied with the sheer creativity, the National Education Policy promotes student entrepreneurs with the exposure to vocational education in partnership with industry and in alignment with Sustainable Development Goal 4.4, that is SDG 4.4. So integration of vocational education with the educational offerings in all institutions by choosing focus areas based on skills gap analysis and mapping of local opportunities will develop entrepreneurial competencies besides capacities and will go a long way to make vocational education a part of the larger vision of holistic education. Now let's see what are all the era of specialization which will contribute in training the entrepreneurship. So further, as part of a holistic education, the ideas of imaginative and flexible curricular structures enables creative combinations of disciplines for the study. This national education policy, it provides for rigorous research-oriented or research-based specializations by giving opportunities for multidisciplinary work, including industry, opportunities for internship with local industries or business houses, and actively engaging with the practical side of learning, and all of which are bound to give impetus, that is motivation to the entrepreneurship. Now the next, we will discuss the NEP's focus on technical education. So here also the focus on technical education is decisive for India's overall growth and development and is well addressed in a national education policy. The technical sectors like engineering, the technology, the management, the hotel management, the architecture, the town plannings, the pharmacy, and the catering technologies, they continue to demand well qualified individuals and hence closer collaboration between industry and institutions to drive innovation. And the research is actively encouraged in national education policy. Since these domains will become part of the multidisciplinary education and curricula will be renamed with a focus on opportunities and challenges to engage deeply with the field, making the education will be entrepreneurial oriented. To aid the above national education policy, it proposes the National Committee for the Integration of Vocational Education, that is NCIVE, so as to promote integration of education with industry and National Research Foundation, that is NRF, to see, grow and facilitate research by funding competitive proposals by liaison between researchers and relevant branches of the industry. Now, the next point of discussion is integrating vocational elements. So soliciting inputs from national and international entrepreneurs and practitioners, the integrating vocational education uh, programs into mainstream education, complementing with a parallel voluntary and more business-focused approach. Creating entrepreneurship-oriented programs with expanded high-quality opportunities that can make effective use of these qualifications would allow breakthroughs to be brought into national education policies or implementation in an optimal fashion. So besides as a part of multidisciplinary education, uh, the focus will be on research and innovation by setting up incubation centers, the technology development centers, and centers in frontier areas of research, greater industry academic linkages. So these initiatives will go a long way in preserving and promoting the entrepreneurial acumen and will also vastly strengthening the existing entrepreneurial sector. So here again, the idea of infusing this entrepreneurship into education has much enthusiasm in a past few decades. A multitude of effects has been stated in result from this, such as economic growth, job creation, and increased societal resilience, but also individual growth, increased engagement, and improved equality. So, putting this idea into practice, it will, however, pose significant challenges alongside the stated positive effects. So, however, this national education policy, it provides a novel path to the education system so as to make India a global knowledge, power, and economic giant. Now, let's move to the execution part. So, whatever we have discussed till now, or which was there in again the National Education Policy 2020. So if there will be no execution on these points, then it will be not of use. Right? So now, no doubt, the National Education Policy is ambitious and futuristic for radical transformation of job seekers into job creators. But much of its success depends on its execution, as our Vice Chancellor Sir said, that the radical transformation of job seekers into job creators is very important. The execution of national education policy in true spirit, it will make the Indian youth be accelerated and offensive for creating value to other people based on the knowledge acquired by them. And this will further fuel deep learning and illustrate the practical relevancy of the educational system. So, to conclude, the national education policy aims to assure the production, the creativity, and inventive, productive, and contribute citizens for building an inclusive, equitable, and self-reliant India. Thank you. So now I request Dr. Nisha to uh, take over the session.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Sarika ma'am, for such a great discussion. Now I would like to invite Mr. Akhand Pratap Singh for discussing the schemes for startups and role of MSMEs in current scenario, which is very beneficial for the economic development. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Jai Hind to all the students and to the academicians. Today I am here to highlight the government schemes for the startup in India. As we have heard a lot about the startups like Zomato, Byju's, Paytm, etc. Right? In a general, startup is a fast growing in general, a startup is a fast growing firm started by one or more entrepreneurs with the goal of developing and marketing a unique product or services. As per definition, Startup India is a company based in India that was focused more than 10 years ago and has an annual revenue of less than 100 crores. As discussed earlier by ma'am, As per the new education policy, government is promoting skill development and entrepreneurship to create successful Indian startups ecosystem for the new budding entrepreneurs in India. So here will be the most important schemes for the startups in India. First will be the Atal Incubator Mission, Innovation Mission. It is a aim. Here it is a in the budget of session 2015, the Indian government announced its flagship project Atal Innovation Mission AIM, with the name coming from the Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our former Prime Minister of India. Atal Innovation Mission has been established to create a proportional platform involving academicians and draw up national and international experience to foster a culture of innovation, research, and development. AIM is establishing world-class Atal Incubator Centers at the university to enable the successful growth and the sustainable startups in diversified sectors. Second point will be Atal Incubation Centers. The Atal Incubation Centers, which are led by the AIM, that is Atal Innovation Mission, as the part, it will give each AIC with a grant in aid of rupees 10 crore. The funding will last for a maximum of 5 years. AICs that are Atal Incubation Centers, which are the part of NEP IO, will provide financial and infrastructural support to startups in industries such as chemical, technology, hardware, healthcare, and life sciences, and etc. So moving towards the third point, that is e-biz portal. This is the first government to business internet platform. The platform's major goal is to establish a business friendly atmosphere in the country. Infosys created the EBIS platform as a part of public-private partnership. It serves as a communication hub for the Indian investors and business communities. At present, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Hyderabad, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu are among the 5 Indian states where the platform has been launched, and other 29 services. Within the time, the government will expand this scheme and services further. Now, moving towards the fourth point, support for international patent protection in electronic and information technology, that is SIP-EIT. It is a program that provides financial assistance to MSME and technological startups in order to foster innovation and recognize the value and capacities of the global IP. IP here means that patent, international patents. Okay, while also exploring and exploring the growth potential in the IET sector, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology is implementing support for international patent protection in electronics and information technology. It is mandate for businesses wishing to operate abroad to apply for the intellectual property rights because innovations are consistently at risk of being copied and misappropriated. The government has put in a place a number of efforts to safeguard them intellectually. Right, moving toward the next point, that is credit guarantee fund trust for MSMEs. That is the availability of bank finance without the hassle of collateral or third party guarantee would be a huge help to the first generation entrepreneurs in realizing their dream of starting their own micro and small businesses. In order to strengthen the credit delivery system and facilitate loan flow to the micro and small enterprises, the MSME sector of the government of India developed the Credit Guarantee Scheme. The Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises was established by Government of India and SIDBI to put the program into the action. So now the next point will be software technological path. So the software technology path STP scheme is 100% export oriented scheme for the development and export for the development and export of computer software as well as professional services via communication links or physical media. This program is one of a kind in it is concentrates on a single product or industry, namely computer software. The project combines the government's concept of 100% export-oriented units and export processing zones, that are EPZ, with the notion of science parks, technological parks, which are already in the use around the world. Now, moving to the next point, loan for rooftop solar PV power projects. For the next 5 years, the Indian government has set the lofty goal of 40,000 megawatt power plants of grid interactive rooftop solar PV plants. Rooftop solar PV plants with capacity ranging from 1 kilowatt power to 500 kilowatt power will be installed on the residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional sector around the country. Rooftop solar plants have become commercially viable because they produce clean electricity for around rupees 10, rupees 7 per kilowatt per hour. Without any subsidies, the government is subsidizing these plants by 15% for the recipients, making them even more appealing and viable. Now, moving to the next point, multiplier grant scheme. The scheme was established by the government Department of Electronics and Information Technology DEITY to promote collaborative research and development between industry and academia, research and development institutes for product and packaging development. This startup scheme is valid through March 31, 2020, and it has a fund of 36 crore for startups, incubators, universities, and accelerators in the electronic information technology industry, like information technology, artificial intelligence, hardware, Internet of Things, IT services, etc. After this, we will be seeing the last point for the scheme, which are single point registration scheme, right? The single point registration scheme was launched in 2003. It is managed by National Small Industries Corporation. NSIC registers all micro and small medium enterprises in the India under single point registration scheme to enable them to participate in government purchases. Enterprises are classified as micro, small, and medium based on the limit of investment. Eligible MSMEs units are provided with Aadhaar Udyog registration certificate. This you will get when you register your company with the MSME. All the central ministries, departments, and PSUs shall set an annual goal of minimum to 20% of the total annual purchases of product produced or rendered by MSME. About 358 items are reserved for exclusive purchase from MSME. So these were the schemes that I have discussed with you about the MSMEs for the startups that are going to happen with the government. Now moving towards the micro, small, and medium enterprises. You must have heard about it. So basically, MSMEs was their limit was altered last year. As per Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, Government of India revised the MSME definition in 2020. Under this criteria, now annual turnover of the enterprises will be added, and distinction between manufacturing and service sector has been eliminated as it was presented earlier. For the micro enterprises, annual turnover is now not more than 5 crore. For small enterprises, annual turnover will be not more than 5 crore but less than 50 crores. For medium enterprises, annual turnover will be more than 50 crore but less than 250 crore. So it is a great opportunity for all the students, and especially who want to be an entrepreneur. They can explore and find their innovative ideas, and they can start their businesses just after their graduation. Okay, so now we will move towards the role of MSME in current scenario, right? As we know, all the world is facing the financial crisis, or you can say the breakdown due to COVID. So here the main role of MSME is very important. So we will discussing. The first point is MSME produce and manufacture varieties of products for both domestic as well as international markets. So MSME share to the total manufacturing output is around 33% around right now. This helped to promote the growth and development of industries which had been hit hard due to COVID-19. MSME employs around 120 million people, becoming the second largest employment generation sector after agriculture in India. And in current scenario, MSMEs can help to fill this employment gap in India. MSMEs plays a pivotal role in providing employment opportunities in rural area. Okay, so this industrialization of these areas with a low capital cost compared to large industries, acting as a complementary unit to large sectors, and the MSMEs sector has also enormously contributed to its social economic development. Right now, MSME ministry target to increase its contribution toward GDP from at present it is at 28%, from 28% to 50% by 2025, as India has to move ahead to become a 5 trillion economy, right? So on the last note, we will say that MSME also contribute about 25% of overall its Indian export. Okay, where the export materials especially are very famous, like handlooms, handicrafts, and various items that are through artisans. Okay, so we will moving towards the next point. The MSME also contributes and play an essential role in the economic development, especially current different areas like requirement of low investment, flexibility in operation, mobility through the location, low rate of import, and high contribution to the domestic production. The promotion of the development of the entrepreneur as well as upgradation of skills by launching specialized training centers for the same. As our university, Subharti University, has also signed an MOU with the MSME Technological Development Center Meerut for the training and development of the students of our university. So they can just get this thing from the upcoming session. So when you join our university, you can contact our EDC cell. Okay, and at the last, it is very important, the Indian MSME sector provides silent support to the national economic development and act as a defense against economic shock and adversity, just like financial crisis of 2008 and the recent ongoing pandemic that is happening around the world. So this is all it that I have discussed with you, and thank you for it. And I'm just giving over to ma'am.
Thank you so much, Akhand sir, for expressing your views on MSMEs and the government policies for the entrepreneurship. And thank you, Mrs. Sarika ma'am also. So I, on behalf of AVG SCMC, would like to thank our speaker, Mrs. Sarika Abhay and Mr. Akhand Pratap Singh for making an excellent presentation and making this session meaningful and interesting. I would like to express my deep gratitude to Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir for his presence. I also thank worthy directors, professors, and students for their precious presence. A special thanks to our worthy director, Dr. R.K. Ghai Sir, for his guidance in conducting this session. At last but not least, I would like to thank technical staff, and others who directly or indirectly supported us to make the session successful. And I hope this session was beneficial for the students who wants to start their career as an entrepreneur, as a beginner. So thank you all. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.